Boker Tov, Shalom Aleichem, everyone. Welcome to the Aliyah Day. I am so glad you're here. Welcome back to the program. We are in Parasha Lech, Lecha. This is the story in which we find Hashem calling to Abraham. Today, we're going to be looking at the insights related to this story. We're going to backtrack a little bit to the end of Parasha Noach to kind of get a background as best we can on Abraham. And Abraham is known as the first Jew. And we're going to be talking about that today because that throws a lot of people for a loop. A lot of non-Jews push back on that real hard, and I'll explain why. But Abraham is, by all accounts, he is in fact the first Jew. And we're going to be looking at his life. You know, we're already 3 parashot into the book of Genesis. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do a Gospel of Genesis series. And listen, all kidding aside, it very well could go into a 2-year series very easily. As you see, you know, I had the second drosh on the Gospel of Genesis on Shabbat, and basically we were discussing the essentially the second word of the first sentence. I'm going to take my time with the book of Genesis because there's so many parts to it that are crucial. There's so many things I can't wait to get to at the same time. So it's kind of it's a little bit of a dichotomy because you want to take your time. At the same time, you want to dive into certain topics and more in depth. But the point being is that between the first sentence of the book of Breshit until the first sentence of chapter 12, we're already 12 chapters into the book on the Aliyah here. There are volumes written about the insights related to everything we've read up until this point. And that's why I wanted to do a Gospel of Genesis series, because there's just so much to cover. So thank you again for being here. Now, I want to say something else just off topic this morning. I've been encouraging everybody to get out and vote early. And of course, in most cases, early voting, in fact, I think in every case, early voting has concluded. And now we have just tomorrow, which is the election day here in the United States, today being election eve. And of course, all elections are important. I think that everybody should get out and vote, and that there shouldn't be anyone who says, you know, I don't care. I've got that thing I've got to do. It doesn't matter. It does matter. As Jews, we are actually called to care about leadership. Remember, it talks about in the book of Exodus. It says that a new king arose in Egypt, a new Pharaoh arose in Egypt, and did not remember Joseph. And that was the sentence to indicate that new leadership is what, and its wickedness is what really led to the bondage of Israel. The leadership here in the United States matters. It matters to the whole world. It was because of our lack of leadership, our lack of support for Israel, and so forth and so on. I could go on, but leave it there, that October 7th happened. October 7th was a direct result of the leadership here in the United States. Make no mistake. And so as a Jew, it does matter. It is important. And I want to encourage everybody who's hearing me. So many of you have already voted, and that's great. And I thank you for that. Some of you who listen to this program, people who aren't even necessarily Lapidniks, you're just listening to this program because you tuned in and you want to know about Abraham, the first Jew. And thank you for being here. I want to encourage you to get out and vote. Go to wherever you are on tomorrow, whatever state in which you reside, go and vote and stay in line. If the line is 5 hours long, stay in line. It's worth it. It's important. We're called to make a difference and to have our voice be heard. So I know the lines will probably be long tomorrow, but stay in line. Don't give up, and make sure you go and vote. For me personally, I'm going to be fasting and praying tomorrow because I think that this election is crucial. I believe it spiritually. I believe it's really important. I believe that we are headed for 4 years of prosperity. I don't have to tell you that we haven't had 4 years of prosperity here in America. In fact, we're on the brink of a Great Depression, to be quite frank. And if you don't think that leadership matters with respect to that, well, I'm sorry to tell you it does. And so I'm praying that HaShem will choose for us the person that he wants to be in leadership of this country, and that person that he chooses will lead us into common sense and sanity and prosperity, and stop some of the things that we've seen happen, some of the cultural rot that we've seen. So I will be praying and fasting tomorrow. If you'd like to join me in that, I encourage you to do so. Most importantly, please get out and vote. This is very important, and I think that we don't. Sometimes we like to separate these kind of things, the spiritual from this type of stuff, but it's not. There's no separation. It does matter. This is why the scripture tells us, as Jews in the diaspora, that we're supposed to strive for the success of wherever we live. So get out and vote. And if you would like to join me in prayer, please do so. Let's ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to make the choice that will lead to our success. Amen. All right. So let's welcome everybody. Good morning to Sonia. Glad you're here. Boker Tov. Welcome to the program. Good morning, Chanel. Glad you're here. Peaches, formerly from Georgia, now living in Pennsylvania. Glad you're with us. Gianna, Boker Tov. Donna Jones, Boker Tov. Hepzibah, good morning to you. Seth, good morning, sir. Glad you're here. Vincino, good morning. Or Vinny. I'll go with Vinny. Good morning. Good morning, Emmanuel, watching from Nigeria. Yes, we had a time change. I very much dislike the whole time change in America. I don't know why we still do it, but anyway. It's neither here nor there. We had time change. Good morning, Amita. Hope you and Pinkus are doing fantastic. Can't wait to see you guys soon and very soon. Good morning to who? Oh, a little thing jumped on me. Hold on. Let me get back here where I was. Ariella Raffaella, good morning. Chris and Crystal, Boker Tov. Anthony Collins, good to see you, sir. And Greg Kroon, Boker Tov. Edith, good morning. Sarah Merritt, hope you and Shane are doing great and recovering from your activities this weekend. Good morning, Sergio. I hope you and Johnny and the rest of the fam are doing great. Abel Roth, Boker Tov to you. And Amana, Curio Comics, good morning. Kriston, good morning. Craig Burson. Craig, is this your first time to be with us? Your name doesn't look familiar, but maybe it is. Good morning, John, watching from the great nation of India. Glad to see you, sir. Nellie Grace and Ahava, Boker Tov. Michael Abraham, good morning. Arnavet, watching from South Africa. Good morning. Rebbetzin and I went out to one of the kosher restaurants in Dallas last night, had a nice little dinner together. And one of the ladies waiting on us was from South Africa. Beautiful accent, South Africa. Love it. Good morning, Zach and Rayford. Good to see you. Heather Wilson, Boker Tov. There's the Rebbetzin. Good morning. Who else do we have? Thelma, good morning. Sarah Rose Steckley, good to see you this morning. Hope you and Justin are doing fantastic. Can't wait to see you guys. Makaya, Boker Tov. Shoshana Brenner, good morning. Who else do we have? Pardon me. Did I say Hepzibah? Good morning, Hepzibah. Let's see. Lantern Lights, good morning. And Milka, hope you and Daniel are doing great. You and precious little Zara. Loella, good morning to you. Good morning, Keturah. Who else do we have? Leah, good morning. Glad you're here. And hope you and Shmuel are doing great. Kevin, good morning. And who else do we have? I'm going to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Good morning, Yesha. I hope you and Ade are doing great there in beautiful North Carolina. Good morning, Edith. Did I say Edith already? Maybe I did. Hope so. And Moriah, good morning. Addie, good morning. Glad you're here. Hope you're doing fantastic. And Bing Bus, and there's Pierre. Good morning. Okay, welcome everybody. So there's so much to talk about with respect to Avraham. So much. Where shall we begin? I tell you what, let's begin with some introductory remarks that are made by the Keot Tumash as well as the Gutnick Kumash, and kind of lead us off from there. Lech Lecha. Now, first of all, I tell you what, let me start with this. People, I say that Abraham is the first Jew. Let's explain why people push back on that. And by people, I mean non-Jewish people. Okay. And that is because there's this idea. Okay. And by the way, not all non-Jews think this. This really just comes from the Hebrew roots movement and Messianic Judaism, but like regular non-Jews don't have a problem with this, and neither do just everyday mainstream Christians. I want to make that clear. And where this comes from is well, I don't want to get off into the weeds. There's just bad theology, kind of cultish theology from which this derives. But basically the idea is that in order to be a Jew, you have to be from the tribe of Judah, because that's where the name Jew derives. It's where it comes from. And a very strict, very, very strict sense, that's true in that the word Jew comes from the tribe of Judah. Yeah. However, never biblically, never historically has the term Jew or the word Jew ever been limited to people who were only from the tribe of Judah, or for that matter, from the southern kingdom of Judah. Ever. Okay. The only people who've ever used that term in such a strict sense are Gentiles from the aforementioned groups. That's it. Never again. In fact, you can look it up in your dictionary. You will see that Jew, Hebrew, Israelite are all synonymous terms. I have in my library, one of my prized possessions is I have an original print of the 1854 Webster's Dictionary. It's wonderful. And if you turn to that dictionary and you look up each of those words, Jew, Israelite, Hebrew, it will cross-reference all the other terms because they are, as we say in English, synonyms. They are synonymous. A synonym is a word that may be different, is different from another word, but essentially means the same thing. So, and then some people will push back and say, there's no way that Abraham could be a Jew because the term Jew didn't even exist yet, which of course is not true. But remember what I talked about on Shabbat, that there were things that entered into the mind of God, as it were, prior to the creation of the universe. One of those things being the forefathers and the Jewish people, the Israelites. So in the human mind, the word Jew did not exist until a point in time. But in God's reality, the term Jew existed before there was time. Now, the question now is, and by the way, give me a thumbs up on the chat if what I've said thus far makes sense and is not complicated. By the way, I'm a big fan of historical realities and scholarly, vetted truth. You won't find a scholar on the planet who agrees with the silly idea that a Jew is only from the tribe of Judah. It's just not a historical reality. We have so many examples in the scriptures that people who weren't from the tribe of Judah were called Jews. And in fact, we also have, ironically, an example from the heretic Paul, who himself was not from the tribe of Judah and yet referred to himself as a Jew. It's just, so I'm not a big fan of ignoring reality. That's just not me. You won't find me ignoring reality. I like to be attached to reality. I think, my opinion is, that one who is detached from reality tends to be somebody who is a nutcase. And I don't want to be such a person, so therefore I remain attached to reality. So therefore, let's go back now and say, why are all Jews called Jews? What does the ancient Jewish text bring down? about this reality? And the answer is very simple. From where? This is part of your final exam for the Aliyah day. Tell me, anybody, from which tribe does the king of Israel, so the king of the Jews, by the way, over the crucifixion stake of the head of the Messiah, am I wrong? Did they write king of the Jews? Am I wrong? Did that mean that when Pontius Pilate had that written, was he implying that the Messiah was only the king of Judah? Was that the implication? No, of course not, right? See, this is, again, we want to be attached to reality. It's amazing to me how people believe things that just very simple, common sense thoughts, will tear down their notions, right? So anyway, Yeshua is king of the Jews. Does that mean just the tribe of Judah or just the southern kingdom? Of course not. I digress. So therefore, if you're not a Jew, then he may not be your king. I'm just going to throw that out there. But from what tribe? Some of you have already answered, but from what tribe does the king originate? Anybody want to tell me? You've already said. Some of you already said Judah, right? Okay. That's why all Jews are called Jews, regardless of what tribe they come from, is because the king is from Judah, and therefore we're all called by his name, Jew. That's why it says in 2 Chronicles, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray. That's the Jews. Okay? And we're also Israelites. We're also Hebrews. I'm a Hebrew. I'm an Israelite. I'm a Jew. I'm all three. Okay? So, now, if we could, it's like saying, I'm an American, but I'm also a Texan. And the United States is a republic. It's not a democracy. It's a republic. It's very, very distinct and difference. With very distinct difference. We are a nation of states. That's why each state votes. And ostensibly, each state has its own presidential election. And we tally up the value of each of those states. And that's called the Electoral College. And that's how we get our president. It's a very brilliant system, actually. It makes sure that every state matters. Okay. Every state is important. And so anyway, so Texas is like its own sovereign state who happens to belong to the Union of the United States. So therefore, I'm a Texan, but I'm also an American. So, that there's an analogy for you. And likewise, some of you live in other states. Some of you live in Florida or Oklahoma. So you might be an Okie or you might be a Floridian, but you're still an American, right? Okay. So Abraham is the first Jew. And by the way, this is written in the Midrash Rabbah, going back many thousands of years. So with all due respect to people who are not Jewish and they really are trying their best to follow Hashem, and I'm so thankful for your zeal. You cannot come into Torah as a goy and rewrite 4,000, 5,000 years of Jewish history. I mean, I love you. I'm so excited for your zeal. I'm glad that you discovered Torah last month. Welcome aboard. And you can't go back and rewrite our history or rewrite our definitions to words just because you're a Johnny Gentile who's woke up this morning and decided that he wants to follow Torah. I'm glad you did, and I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you're on the path, but right? Okay? All right. I mean, I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just saying, you can't come in and just start rewriting stuff. and pretend like 4,000 or 5,000 years of Jewish reality is simply not, because you don't want it to be. That's not how life works. It's not how it works here. Okay. All right. So it just a couple of pull quotes from the introduction of the Keiot Humash to Lecha. And Abraham is called the preacher here. One of the things about Abraham, not just that he's the first Jew, but he really starts something that has been lost in Judaism, and that is seeking converts, seeking out people to join the covenant. I really feel like Lapid Judaism is kind of taking up the mantle, not just of Yeshua, the Messiah, who did the same thing, of course. Yeshua talked about this. He says, why aren't you doing the works of our father Abraham? Well, what was the works of our father Abraham? That's a good question. Aside from living a Torah life, I mean, yes, he was a Torah following Jew, yes. But the works of Abraham, really, if you study the ancient literature, was he went out and preached to people to come into the kingdom. It says here, Abraham, in contrast, was not fazed by the rampant corruption around him. Remember, Abraham was alive during the Tower of Babel. I said the Tower of Babel, I believe, was 1996. Abraham was born in 1948. So he was around this time. But he says, Abraham, in contrast, was not fazed by the rampant corruption around him. On the contrary, it was precisely the world's depravity that inspired him to become an activist. As we saw at the end of the preceding parashah, Abraham circulated among his contemporaries, pointing out, listen to this, I love the phrase here in the Keiot, pointing out the illogic of their way of life and encouraging them to join his monotheistic revival. Did you catch that? He was pointing out the illogic. Say illogic. That's what we do here at Lapid Judaism. We point out the illogic nature of certain ideas. Just like I just got through saying, you cannot believe that the term Jew is limited to the tribe of Judah, and at the same time believe that they put a sign above the Messiah's head that said King of the Jews. That's illogical. You don't have to do deep theology. We don't have to study mounds and mounds of text to try to get to the truth. All we need is that reality. And so two things here with this pull quote was Abraham as a preacher. He went around preaching and teaching, encouraging people to come in. And he pointed out the illogic nature of their belief system. And there's a lot of different ways that we can do that. But anyway, another quote here, it says, secondly, with these words, like Lecha, God transformed Abraham into his emissary, his shliach. The word shliach, emissary, is the Hebrew word for apostle. Apostle is someone who's been sent out for a mission, a divine mission. Abraham was no longer acting merely as an inspired visionary. He could now speak with the authority beyond himself, making the conviction of his message incomparably, more effective than it had previously been. It was thus only through his efforts after God spoke to him that the divine presence began its true descent back to earth. So Abraham, and preaching this monotheistic Torah truth, is what brought the Shekinah to the earth. By the way, just as a side note here, just popped in my mind. If you look at Genesis chapter 26 and verse 5, crucial verse in your Torah, you should highlight it. You should make a note to yourself. And that way, whenever you're having a conversation with your friends and they say something to you like, well, basically, they're not understanding that the Torah has always been, or they're not understanding that Abraham himself followed the Torah. Okay. In fact, let's just turn there for just a quick second. It's worth turning there for a moment because it's important. This is one of those verses that if people's hearts are open, they'll have raised eyebrows and go, okay. So in Genesis chapter 26, HaShem is having a conversation with come on, where is it? There it is. It's having a conversation with Isaac, okay? And he's explaining to Isaac why he's going to bless Isaac, okay? That's he's having this conversation here. Let me find the verse here, 26 and verse 5. Yeah, here it is. All right. So let me read this in Hebrew, and I'm going to read it to you in English. And this is an important proof text that shows that Abraham followed the laws of Moses, the Torah. A lot of people find this like, how can that be? I thought the laws of Moses came after the Exodus. Didn't you see the Charlton Heston movie? And the answer is the Torah has always been, okay? It is eternal, which means it pre-exists creation. So it says here in 26:5, Ekev asher shema Avraham bekoli ve'shemor mishmarti mitzvotai hukotai, and the last word is important, ve'torotai. Okay. Now, this is translated because say Ekev asher shema, because Abraham listened bekoli to my voice, veshemor and guarded, mishmarti my safeguards, mitzvotai my safeguards implies fences. Okay, fences, like a fence for the Torah. Mishmartai. So here right now with that first word, we have an implication of the oral law, because the oral law is where we get the fences. Mishmartai, mitzvotai, that's mitzvot. Hukotai, these are laws that are beyond our capability to understand, right? They seemingly don't have any rational thought to them, human rationality. The last word is Ve'torotai. Torotai is a plural word, my Torahs, okay? As in written Torah and oral Torah. This is why Genesis chapter 26 and verse 5 is such a crucial verse, because God is speaking to Isaac and saying, the reason I'm going to bless you is because your father followed all of my written and oral law. It's right there in the Hebrew. Now, this also is an important verse because some people say, well, God blessed Abraham because of his faith. That's not what Genesis 26:5 says. That's also, by the way, not what it says in Genesis 15. That is completely made up. That's phony baloney, plastic banana, good time rock and roll. It actually says in Genesis 26:5 that he blesses Isaac because Abraham did something, not just believed something, but did something. And this is a very crucial point. So we come back to our introduction. It says, finally, and most importantly, by telling him to go, God made Abraham into a new person. So this is a new creation. Abraham has become a new creation at this point, okay? Who could now progress beyond his own abilities. Go to you means go to your true higher self, the self you could never reach on your own. Ladies and gentlemen, this is so crucial because Lecha means, go to you or go for yourself or whatever, but really it's been interpreted as go to your true self, something you cannot do on your own. There's too many people out there that are trying to do this on their own. There was a young man on our channel who was waxing eloquently, and I said, who's your rabbi? He didn't answer, and I've been doing this for 30 years, okay? His response was so typical. kind of go around. I'm sorry, who was your rabbi again? My rabbi's name is, well, first of all, why do you ask? Why do you want to know that? It's kind of personal. Okay. Who's your rabbi? Where do you daven? My rabbi's name is Rabbi Yuval. Okay. Yuval what? What's his actual name? What's the name of his congregation and where is it located? Cricket. Okay. It's so do not be that person who is learning alone. Okay. That is, it's the Chazal, the commentators, all warn against that. Not good. Not good. Learning alone is not good. I don't learn alone. I mean, I learn every day, but I am in a community, and you guys are sharing your thoughts and insights and so forth, and I don't learn alone. No one should be learning alone. So anyway, so go to your true self, and you can only go to your true self, but not by yourself. This is why you have to join a community like Lapid Judaism. And be, by the way, dedicated to that community. Don't be that person who's got your foot in 5 different communities. Don't be that person either. That will mess you up. I promise you. But then okay, so let's go back. And by the way, this is a little because I just said what I said. We're all hungry and thirsty for more insights. But I want to caution you on that as well. A lot of people want to go and just listen to videos all day long. Well, if it's Lapid videos, and I'm not saying this is so difficult for me to communicate this because it could be so easily misunderstood. If you're listening to Lapid videos and you're binge watching them, that's great because you're in a consistent, you're getting a consistent flow, okay, from and it's all rooted in ancient sources. Sometimes people have a desire because they want to know everything right now, which I completely understand. But ladies and gentlemen, I just mentioned a while ago, I've been doing this for 30 years. Rebbe Stein and I sat down and held our first Pesach Seder in 1997, which is in some cases, not all, but in some cases longer than some of you have been alive. Okay. And so I know what I know because I've been studying it and progressively growing for 30 years. Okay. Some people want that 30-year knowledge this month, and it's just not going to happen. And so what happens is you watch Lapid, then you go off and you watch videos from all kind of different rabbis, and what you don't understand is they're all different streams. And you basically get caught in a rip current because you don't know what you don't know, and it's just dragging you all over the place. I'm going to encourage you not to do that. I understand the thirst for knowledge. I understand the thirst for understanding. I understand the thirst to glean more. I want to encourage you, however, to take it easy because you can just you can eat everything at the buffet, but how many of you know that may not work out well for you? So just kind of tap the brakes a little bit. And I want to encourage you to apply my wisdom because I've seen so many people not listen to me. Not so many, I should say a handful of people not listen to me and say, oh, what do you know? I want to know it all. I want to know what to say. And they end up becoming heretics. I'm not trying to be, not trying to be like hyperbolic. I'm telling you the truth. Okay. So be careful. I mean, right. We take it easy. You can too much of a good thing is oftentimes a bad thing. So just let your learning absorb into your being and then live Torah. Okay. Don't get too crazy. And for God's sakes, if you're brand new to Torah, don't be out there diving into Kabbalah. Not that Kabbalah is bad or evil. It's just you're not ready for it yet. Learn to doggy paddle first before you decide to jump off the helicopter into the ocean. Okay. That's my opinion. So it says here, in the context of Parashat Lecha, takes the dynamic initiative in Parashat Noach to its next level. In Parashat Noach, we saw how God introduced to the world the notion of teshuvah, the possibility of correcting wrongdoing and to remake our lives even after committing what would otherwise appear to be fatal mistakes. Now, in Parashat Lecha, God not only makes it possible for us to return to our original selves, he makes it possible for us to return to our authentic, fundamental self, the selves we never even knew existed, constantly uncovering new and infinitely higher vistas of our innate divine personality and connection with God. So this is what Abraham did. He became a preacher. He went out and he converted people. It literally says in our insights that he converted people. In fact, how many of you are familiar with, you probably heard this, many of you, right? From our passage here from Genesis 12 in verse 3, where it says, I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse, and peoples on earth will be blessed through you. How many of you ever heard that or had somebody say that to you? Hey, I know with the Jews, or whoever blesses them will be blessed, whoever curses me, cursed. Well, I want to share with you how the Targum interpreted this. Because of the way the Hebrew is written, the sages said, all who came under the wings of the Shekinah. The Targum translates that phrase, will be blessed through you. They will be grafted into you or engrafted in you. So all the peoples of the earth will be blessed through you. That means they will be grafted into you. Judaism is a family, by the way. And when you go through conversion in Judaism, your lineage literally transfers to that of Abraham and Sarah. Abraham and Sarah become your parents. That's why in Judaism, it's not a ethnicity. There are Jews of every skin tone. At the same time, even though we're not an ethnicity, we are in fact a family. We are in fact a family. So we may be black or brown or white or olive, or we might have red hair or blonde hair or whatever. Our genetics may be completely different from one another, but we are nevertheless belong to the same family, and we belong to that same family vis-a-vis ingrafting. And ingrafting is conversion. It is conversion. Conversion to what? Conversion to Judaism. Okay? So Abraham and Sarah went around converting people, seeking people out to become, or to come under rather, the wings of the Shekinah. Listen to what this says in the opening of the Gutnick Chumash. The Rebbe Rashab and Rabbi Shalom Dov Ber of Lubavitch once said, Bereshit is a joyous parasha, even though its end is not too pleasant. This is talking about the literal parasha Bereshit. Noach is all about the flood, though it has a joyous ending with the birth of Abraham, our father. Lech Lecha, however, is a truly joyous week. Every day of the week, we live with Abraham, our father, who was the first person to dedicate his life to spreading godliness in the world. Abraham was the first Jew, and I want you to pay attention. As the first Jew, what did he do? Because we need to be doing the same thing. If he is in fact our father, we need to be about our father's business. Okay? When Yeshua said that, he was talking not just about Hakadosh Baruch Hu, but he was also talking about Avraham Avinu, because Avraham Avinu was about his father's business, because we're talking about the business of the father, and Abraham, the first Jew, spread godliness in the world. And we need to be doing the same thing. It says, and Abraham's trait of self-sacrifice has since, listen to this last sentence by the Rashab. And Abraham's trait of self-sacrifice has since been inherited by all Jews. Notice it says by all Jews. The implication there, of course, is that Abraham is the first Jew, and in fact, he was. We have to be about our Father's business, and our Father's business is seeing that everyone, or that we spread rather, godliness on the earth to everyone. And there's all kinds of ways to do that. Sometimes just, you can invite somebody to a Passover Seder as an example. People enjoy that. They enjoy it. You're spreading godliness to them. You say, well, I invited people to Passover Seder, but we haven't seen them since. Okay. But you don't know what HaShem is doing in their life. We have to believe that experience impacted them on a subatomic level, deeply spiritual level. Spreading godliness to someone could just be sharing an insight with them, which is, the all too common cliche of planting a seed that may take years to grow. I mentioned that Rabbi Singer and I sat down and officiated our first Pesach Seder in 1997. 1997. It's like the old Western days. Now, what I know about the Pesach Seder today and the commitment I have to Torah-true Judaism today in Yeshua is light years beyond where we were in 1997. Light years. But that seed was there, and it grew, and it grew, and grew. And that took these many decades. Now, for a lot of people, I don't believe it's going to take so many decades, but the point being is that we can spread the godliness to people like Abraham did simply by doing something simple. Abraham brought people into his tent, invited them in to have a meal, and then at the end of the meal, he simply recited the Birkat HaMazon. That's all he did. Very simple. Introducing people to the one true God. That's how he spread godliness. Some of them became converts. Some of them did not. Later down the road, they might have. In fact, there's a story about, we'll get to much later, of course. There's a story where when Isaac was born to Sarah, that Sarah, her youth was restored, and her breast milk was so abundant that she nursed some of the Gentile children. And the sages bring down that every convert who ever existed is a descendant from one of those goyim who nursed from Sarah. So you might be a convert here in 2024, 5785, but maybe your ancestor going back many thousands of years was one who was nursed by Sarah. You see how long it takes sometimes for the seed to develop. But in that very real sense, she was spreading godliness in the world. So we're going to conclude with this last insight here. There's so much. I knew when I started this morning, I'm trying to deliver to you the 7 C's in a 40 plus minute Aliyah, which is absurd. There's too much about this topic. We're going to spend some time on Abraham, obviously, and Lecha, but it says Lecha, usually translated as go for yourself. It could also be rendered as go to yourself. Reveal your true identity as a Jew. You are a child of Abraham to do this. Me'artzecha, from your land. Go away from your worldliness, from your physical desires. Mimolatecha, from your birthplace. Do not do mitzvot by rote or as habitual routine, which you are brought up to follow. Mi beit avicha, from your father's house. In Hasidic thought, wisdom is referred to as father. In this verse, the father refers to the wisdom of the evil inclination. The Torah is therefore telling us, as Jews who follow Abraham, go away from your father. Don't be the wise guy when it comes to mitzvot. Don't try to rationalize them away. And all through all the above, we come to El haaretz asher arecha, to the land which I will show you. God will lead us to and reveal to us true spirituality, which is God's supernal land. Let us be followers of Avraham Avinu, the first Jew, and let us begin this journey this week by returning to our true self. End of our Aliyah today. Thank you so much for being a part of it. We are out of time, but never out of content. Let's pray for our country. I think it's a big day tomorrow. As I said, I will be fasting and praying and believing God for a divine and glorious and blessed outcome. Please join me if you can. And most importantly, go and vote. Make sure you go. If you have not yet voted, make sure you go vote tomorrow. Stand in line. It could be a long line. Do not leave the line. Make sure you vote. It's really important, and it is very godly to do. God bless you. Thank you for being here. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Shalom Aleichem.